in case if you don't know.
All right, tell them bye.
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 I'm a
All right.
butterfly heart.
Go on.
Bye.
All right. As you can tell, the next holiday coming up is Valentine's Day, and Elizabeth is excited. That is one thing about school this year, is she is all into the holidays. So she has learned to make a heart. So you can tell what we've been talking about and going to talk about the next couple of weeks. But they're always ready to say hi and excited. So I hope everyone is having a great Sunday. We're just going to go on and jump right in here. We are on Ruth chapter 2, verses 8 through 16. And it says, Then Boaz said to Ruth, Now listen, my daughter, do not go glean in another field or leave this one, but keep close to my young women. Let your eyes be on the field that they are reaping, and go after them. Have I not charged the young men not to touch you? And when you are thirsty, go to the vessels and drink what the young men have drawn. Then she fell on her face, bowing to the ground, and said to him, Why have I found favor in your eyes, that you should take notice of me, since I am a foreigner? But Boaz answered her, All that you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband has been fully told to me, and how you left your father and mother and your native land and came to a people that you did not know before. The Lord repay you for what you have done, and a full reward will be given you by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. Then she said, I have found favor in your eyes, my Lord, for you have comforted me and spoken kindly to your servant, though I am not one of your servants. And at mealtime Boaz said to her, Come here and eat some bread and dip your morsel in the wine. So she sat beside the reapers, and he passed to her roasted grain. And she ate until she was satisfied, and she had some left over. When she rose to glean, Boaz instructed his young men, saying, Let her glean even among the sheaves, and do not reproach her. And also pull out some from the bundles for her, and leave it for her to glean, and do not rebuke her. We see a lot of things going on in these verses, so we're going to talk about it. In the verses, we see Boaz take a stronger liking to Ruth. He is now looking out for her. He tells her not to go into another person's field, to only glean in his, and this is a big deal. Very rarely, or I'm assuming the way I gather this, is that you don't typically go to the same field every time. Maybe you do one field one day and you move on to the next, or maybe you do 2 or 3 fields in a day. I don't really know. But for him to say, do not go into another person's field, you come here and only here, that's a pretty big deal. Not everyone gets that privilege. I would venture to say no one gets that privilege unless you are, well, I will say no one gets that privilege if you're in the class that Ruth is in right now. He also told her when she was thirsty to go drink the water his men had drawn up. This is also very unusual. In the Bible, we see that the women were the ones who drew water for the men. But in verse 9, we see that she is not to draw water for the men, but the men for her. And again, this is totally uncommon. You don't do that. That's like a huge no-no, as we say in our house. You do not do that. As a woman, you are viewed as a servant and to a male, and you are supposed to do whatever they ask you to do. If they're thirsty, you get them water. If they're hungry, you give them food to eat. And he is telling her, you don't go get water. You drink what the men is given. Now, this will also save her time. She's out in the field gleaning. She no longer has to go draw her own water and carry the water back with her. And I picture her with, like, you've seen the pictures of the jugs on their shoulders, the jug on their head. Really don't know what they use them. But some type of container. She doesn't have to do that. She just goes and gets water and drinks it. So that saves a lot of time. And again, another special reward for her. And all these things make Ruth feel special, and she realizes that. So it tells us too, she's not dumb, right? She's like, okay, this is not normal. What's going on? And she asked Boaz, why have you taken a liking to me? What have I done? Why are you doing this? Why me? And Boaz replied, he knew all the things she had done and is doing for Naomi. And I wonder if that kind of took her back. It wasn't maybe your typical response. Like you would say in this time, why are you doing this for me? Oh, I think you're pretty. Or, oh, I care about you. Or, oh, I like you. He said, because I have heard what you have done. And that ties into what we talked about last week about reputation. This is a big part of your reputation. if she didn't have the reputation of taking care of Naomi through the loss of her husband and the loss of her father-in-law, maybe Boaz wouldn't have had this. Now, again, God's hand is in all of this, but it's about reputation. He knew about her, and he listened, and he believed what he was told. And so Ruth is off to a good start. She has a really good reputation, and Boaz tells her that. She has shown faithfulness, and she has shown loyalty. Boaz continues to say that the Lord repay you for all that you have done, a full reward given by the Lord. Then he says, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. Boaz was a man of God. And now Ruth's reward for her faithfulness and loyalty to Naomi was to be under Boaz's watch. So now she's reaping what she sowed, so to speak. She has done good all of these years. She's been faithful. She's turned her life around. Remember, this is a pagan woman. She worshiped pagan gods. She knew nothing about the true God. She didn't listen, didn't grow up that way. She has totally changed her life. This is her reward. She did not know it was coming. She went out to glean fields that day because she needed food. She was not looking for this. And again, she is being rewarded for the good things she has done. Now she's under Boaz's watch. That is the under wings you have taken refuge. Boaz is her wings. He was telling her he was going to take care of her, that she had nothing to worry about anymore. Could you just imagine the weight lift off her shoulder? She's probably thinking, man, I'm really glad I chose this field right now. I'm really glad I stopped here. And like I said, we all know God's hand was in this. This is God working. But she was clueless as to where she was going. And this is where it landed her. She was just trying to get food. And it makes me think God can make good out of every circumstance. And if this doesn't show it, then, I'm sure there's other stories. And I know there's other stories. But that's what I think of here. She never questioned God. She just went on her daily business doing what she needed to do, and God was watching out for her, and he does the same for us. All right, let's get back to here. I kind of went on a side path there. Then in verse 13, Ruth says she had found favor in Boaz's eyes. Ruth is very grateful of this. It gives her comfort, peace of mind that she will be taken care of. She feels flattered that Boaz would even notice her. He knows of her. He knows she's poor, but yet he still took the time to seek her out and to make sure she was taken care of. He took the time to find out who she was, what was she about, what her story was. He took time to investigate her, so to speak. And yes, we know commentaries, I guess, other books say that Ruth was probably very beautiful, something to catch your eye. But to me, Boaz, that may have what caught Boaz's attention, because he is a male, but at the same time, just because you're pretty doesn't mean he's going to fall down like this and give you all of these special privileges and treat you like that and take you under his wing as one of his own. I'm sure there are other pretty people that have came upon his field. So again, and Ruth realizes this. Ruth knows this. She knows this is not normal. And she is flattered, but yet she doesn't take that too far. She doesn't abuse that. She doesn't try to get more than what she should from Boaz. And I think, again, that speaks very highly of the type of person that Ruth is. She is not out to get all that she can. She is just trying to survive. And this does have to make her feel better. And she trusts Boaz, obviously. I mean, she went to the dinner table with him. So she trusts him. He seems very comforting. Now, does she trust him because, again, she's desperate? And this all sounds good. Again, like I said, all this is God's hand. But just some things to think about. Just how unique, I guess, or how perfectly all this is falling into plan. And so he flatters her. He gives her special privileges. But he doesn't stop there. In verse 14, we see that he invites Ruth to mealtime. Not only did he invite her, he let her eat until she was full. Again, this is unheard of. When people invite you to dinner as a guest, you eat what you are given. You do not ask for seconds. It's not like when our whole family gets together or when we're at a friend's house, we have a meal, we want seconds. Most of the time we don't ask, we just get up and get it, don't we? No, not back then. You do not, if you are a guest at someone's house, you eat what's put before you. It is considered rude to ask for more. And we do not see that. Boaz let her eat until she was full. He never stopped her. And this shows how much Boaz cared. It also showed he had a big heart. And he cared about her. He wanted to make sure that she's out working in the fields. He wants to make sure she has her strength. He wants to make sure that she is healthy or has enough food, because he knows she still has to go home to Naomi and take care of Naomi. So he is watching her through all of this and observing her. Then in verses 15 and 16, we see something else that's not normal. So we're just full of things that aren't normal in these few verses. Boaz sees that Ruth is getting ready to go out and glean some more. And he looks at his men and he says, "Let her glean even among the sheaves. Do not reproach her." Don't go to her. Don't stop her. Don't tell her she can't do it. And then he also says, "And also pull out some from the bundles for her and leave it for her to glean, and do not rebuke her." So not only don't approach her, don't tell her she can't go get some of the good stuff, you pull some out for her. You pull some out and you leave it where she's gleaning. And don't you dare say anything to her about picking it up. Don't say anything to her. Again, so uncommon. We've said this from verse 1. She's only supposed to be on the outskirts of the square, the outskirts of the field. She's not supposed to get the good of the good. And she's getting the good stuff now. So now we're going to see where this takes us. He's basically saying, let Ruth get whatever she wants and you don't stop her. You sit there and watch her. You make sure nobody else follows her, but you don't stop her. We talked last week about how Boaz had a good relationship with his workers and that they were loyal to him and they respected him. In these verses, we do not see the servants arguing, rebutting, going against Boaz. They agreed to what he said. Now they have been thinking, "You crazy man, what's wrong with you? This is not how it's supposed to be. What are you up to?" But yet they had that working relationship and respect for him that they did what they were told, regardless if they disagreed or not. They knew that Boaz was their boss. They were not to question him. What he says goes, and you did it. And I think of sometimes that today, especially when I was in the work field, there were several times that I didn't like what my boss told me. There was several times in a day I questioned my boss. Why are we doing it this way? Why wouldn't we do it? We didn't do it that way yesterday. Why are we doing it? Why does this person get special privileges? Why do we jump when this person calls? And I needed to study Ruth more back then too. That was my boss. What she said goes. Whether I like it, whether I want to do it, whether I 100% disagree with it. Now that's where it gets gray-ish area. I'm not talking about things that are unethical, things that are lawfully wrong, things that could get us in trouble. I'm just talking about mutual respect, a boss-worker relationship. Someone is above you. They tell you to do something. It may not be your favorite thing to do, but you do it. You don't ask them, why do I have to do this? So-and-so did it. They had that respect for each other, and they did what Boaz told them to do. No questions asked. It doesn't tell us, but I visually see them saying, "Yes, sir." And they go out to the field. And again, Boaz knows he doesn't have to go out and watch them and make sure. How many people today that the boss tells them to do something, as soon as the boss gets out of eyesight or earshot, they're saying something, or "I'm not going to do that," and do their own way anyway. We see that all the time as well. And they didn't do this. This leads me to believe that they truly did what Boaz said. Boaz had 100% faith, respect, whatever you want to call it, trust, I guess is the word I'm looking for, that he knows they're not going to disobey him. So now, also, she not only has Boaz looking out for her, but doesn't she have all these servants looking out for her too? She has all of Boaz's servants watching her in the field. And not watching her as in, oh, she's pretty, but watching her to protect her, watching her, helping her make her job easier. And that has to make her feel pretty good. So what I want us to take out of these few verses is this: good things come to those who follow God. Ruth gave up her pagan life and started following God, and she is starting to see good things happen in her life. Did it happen instantly? No. Did it happen in a year? No. We're talking several years down the road, but it's happening. She is reaping her reward. She has a loving mother-in-law, and now she has a way to get all the food she needs for them both, and she has a protector, Boaz, watching over her. Things were looking pretty gloomy in her life, but now things are turning around. Again, it wasn't that same day, it wasn't that same week, it wasn't that same month, it wasn't that same year, but things are turning around. Whenever we are having a gloomy day, week, month, year, we need to remember that God is watching over us and He is there for us, taking care of us. He has a plan. He knows what we're going through. He has something set up for us down the road, things we don't know about. We just have to live, and it's hard. It's hard when you've had a bad day. It's hard when everything's piling down on you, but you've got to look to the good. You've got to trust God. You can have a pretty rotten day. Everything can be going wrong, and you just think it's the end of the world. But, you have to think, okay, I don't know what God has planned. Just like Ruth. She knew she needed food. She was going out to get food. She had no idea Boaz was going to do all of this. Okay, some say, well, she knew it was Boaz's field. Okay, let's take that. If she knew it was Boaz's field, did she ever expect Boaz to tell her servants to get her water or that she could drink his water? Did she ever expect Boaz to offer her a meal, and not only offer her a meal, let her eat all that she wanted? Did she ever dream of, after the meal, him telling his servants, you go and make it a little bit easier for her. You give her some of the good stuff. She deserves some of the good stuff. And don't you tell her she can't do this, and don't you tell her she can't do that. And pretty much you watch over her. I don't think for a minute that Ruth knew all that was going on. That is all God's hand working and God looking out for them. God looks out for His people. God cares for His people. So as long as we're Christians, doing the best we can, being the best Christian we can be, God is on our side. God is not against us. So that's what I wanted us to take away from this week. I hope you all have a great week. And next week we will finish up Ruth chapter 2. I haven't looked that far ahead. It's been kind of a crazy week this week, getting this one prepared. So I don't know if I will go into chapter 3 or not. I'm not planning on it. So we might have a shorter devotional next week, but we will finish up chapter 2. So as always, thank you for listening, and I will see you here next week.